really perfect inseam pockets. Okay, it's difficult for me to get this in the frame, but I think you'll understand. So this is the top of the skirt. So this will be where the waist will be attached. These are the side seams, and these are the pocket sacks, because we're doing inseam pockets. So I've put the pocket right sides together with the fabric on both sides, and I've exactly lined up my notch on the skirt with the top and bottom of the pocket where it gets attached to the side seam. And where we're going to sew is a little bit less than our actual seam allowance, coming straight across here and straight across here. So this is the front of the skirt, and we are attaching our pockets on. So off we go. So a little bit less, not much, than the seam allowance that I intend upon doing for the side seam. So I'm just going to go forwards a bit, back a bit. I'm using a straight stitch, it's around 2.5, and then I'm going to stitch down like that. I'm in a funny position as usual. I'll try and be straight. So you see how we've got it to line up with our notch here. So that way we can't go wrong. Now what happens is, because this is the front, this is going to form the facing of the pocket at the front. But we need to do the other side too. Now if you want, you can understitch that, but I've got very crispy fabric, so I know I don't need to. Now when you do your other side, because we like to have our fabric on the left, because it's quite a lot of fabric, you'll be finding you'll be going upside down in the opposite direction, but it's exactly the same thing. Backs and forwards, our notches are lined up with the edge of our pocket, and it just goes straight. Now when you've done that, I want you to do the same to the back pocket sacks. Stitch them on to the side seam, right sides together. So I'm on the back now. This is the side seam. I've got my fabric right sides up, even though you can't tell, and I've got my pocket sack right sides together. Now the only reason why the other one was white is because I didn't have enough material, and I thought if it fell at the front then you wouldn't see it. So seam allowance a little bit smaller than our seam allowance for the side seam, and same thing, we're just going to sew straight down, and we're going to stop at the bottom. So do the same on your other side of your back piece. So when you've done all of your attaching the pockets to the side seams, okay, then put your front and back, so that's my front and this is my back, put your front and backs together, and I would say more than lining up the pockets, line up those notches first. Do you remember the notches that we did in the beginning for where we were going to align our pocket sacks? So line up those first, and then when they're good, put clips on or pins or nothing. And what you're going to do is you're going to come from the top down the side seam. You're going to go past the edge of your pocket sack a bit, so I don't know, 1 centimetre or small 1/2 inch, and then you're going to pivot the needle just proud of that stitch line there, and you're going to start to come around the pocket sack like that, and then come back in again, and then just go a little bit proud again of that stitch line, and then go straight down your side seam. Right, you ready? I do feel like I'm driving a bit. So, awkward position for me, but it's fine. So I'm going to go backwards and forwards first of all, and now I'm doing the 1/2 inch-ish seam allowance that I wanted to do. So forwards, and back. So I'm heading to that point there. I do need to hold it a bit. Okay, now when you are about 1/2 inch, I suppose, centimetre, 1/2 inch past the edge of this bit here, leave your needle in, lift it up, turn it around, get yourself in position to start coming around here with a good seam allowance. So we're driving around now, and we're driving around the edge, about a centimetre, small 1/2 inch, away from our pocket sack edge. Now if you had a tricky fabric, I'm not using a tricky fabric, I'm using an African print, which is like sewing with paper really. So if you had a tricky fabric, I'd suggest you put quite a few notches around the pocket sack, just to make sure that it definitely lines up properly. So I'm trying still not to get in the way. Bit of an adjustment. I've got to make sure everything is all nice and flat here before we come to the seam. See how I steered around there? And now when I'm a little bit past, only maybe, oh, that's probably enough actually, 1 stitch past, I leave the needle in and I lift up the foot. I'm going to turn around, drop the foot, and now I'm free to just go all the way down that side seam. And when you get to the bottom of the side seam, backwards and forwards. So do you want to have a look? So shall we have a look at what we've just done? If I flop that in there and flop this over, look at that. Now, this isn't a lesson in how to pattern match. Okay, this is a lesson in how to do an inseam pocket. Now, I didn't have very much material. I only had 2 yards, but that's still pretty good that I can make a maxi skirt out of 2 yards of fabric.